Well, welcome back, folks. Al Zuccaro here again, and we have our guest here tonight. Her name is Monica Moyat?
Mayat.
Mayat.
Yes.
I apologize.
No problem.
And Monica is here to talk about Amendment Number 1 of the Constitutional Amendment that's up for the voters on November 8th and having to do with the solar industry. But before we get to the crux of the issue, maybe you give us a little bit of background of how you've gotten so involved in solar energy, because you've been leading first the charge in the primaries and now the charge in the general.
Yes. Back in 2006, I took my family to see the movie An Inconvenient Truth, and it totally changed our lives. I got involved with helping my son with a club at school to stop global warming. And I got involved after that with the City of Boca Raton's Green Living Task Force. That, after a year of existence, turned into the Permanent Green Living Advisory Board, which I chaired for several years and did a lot of decent work with the City Council. I also was trained by Vice President Al Gore with his Climate Reality Project organization. So I'm now a regional climate reality leader for his organization, trying to get the word out that renewable energy is the new economy that we need to
All right, so this is a big topic and there's a lot of ground to cover.
Yes.
Let's first go back in time about 6 or 8 weeks ago, and there was an amendment, there was an item on the ballot during the primaries which you wanted people to vote yes for.
Right.
Okay, let's talk about that first, because now what's on the ballot for November 8th, you want people to vote no for.
Correct.
So take us through the hoops on how to make that distinction without confusing me.
Okay.
And I'm a very confusable person.
The amendment on the August ballot, which passed overwhelmingly by 73%, which was fantastic. What that did is it removed any increased property tax and intangible taxes for residents and businesses that put solar panels on their facilities. So that was great. That was a legislature-backed amendment. They wanted to, do something to try to bump up the solar industry here in the state. So that went very well, and we were very pleased. So the next phase in this, what I call solar confusion amendments, is no on Amendment 1. Now, Amendment 1 is an amendment that is bankrolled by the utilities here in the state.
Let me stop you just there for a second.
Sure.
For the audience's sake, let me read to you the constitutional amendment that you will be faced with on November 8th. It says, the headline is Rights of Electricity Consumers Regarding Social Energy. Then it says, this amendment establishes a right under Florida's Constitution.
It's right here. Right there.
Aha. To own or lease solar equipment installed on their property to generate electricity for their own use. State and local governments shall retain the ability to protect consumer rights and public health, safety, and welfare, and to ensure that consumers who do not choose to install solar are not required to subsidize the cost of backup power and electric grid access to those who do. Sounds like it's very consumer protective.
It does, and that's why we call it the wolf in sheep's clothing kind of amendment. There are three things that this amendment says. Number one, that it's going to provide consumer protections for if you're scammed by a solar company. Well, those protections are already set up. We don't need this constitutional amendment to do that. It says you have a right to lease your own solar equipment. Well, again, that right already exists. It doesn't have to be explicitly stated in the Constitution. And the third most important one is the last phrase saying that it could be used. They're saying that they don't want non-solar customers to have to subsidize solar customers. So what this is saying is, what could happen if this passes, the big power companies could go to the Public Service Commission and say, hey, voters had said that they want solar customers to pay a surcharge to help the non-solar customers. So we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So there have been studies in many other states that have embraced solar that non-solar customers have not been subsidizing solar customers.
Okay, so who is behind this?
This amendment is being bankrolled by all the large power utilities in the state. FP&L, Duke Energy, the Koch brothers, those types of entities they've spent over $20 million to push this amendment. And I am representing both Floridians for Solar Choice and Climate Reality, which we are grassroots. So we are just word of mouth, get down and dirty with the residents and say, look, this is not what you are looking to try to do. As soon as we mention to people that this is a utilities-backed amendment, they immediately say, no, we don't want this.
How are you going to get your message out? I mean, you're facing, it's a David and Goliath story.
It is a David and Goliath story, for sure. We are doing pledge drives, social media blasts, as much word of mouth as we can. We're getting articles in magazines, letters to the editor in all major newspapers in the state. We're doing everything that we can do, any sort of publicity that we can do within our means to
And your sense of how you're doing?
I think we're doing well. You know, the fact that, like I said recently, that once we say to somebody, you know, this is a utility backed, they go, oh, well, we don't want to do that then. So, and the great thing is, just the opposite from Amendment 4, we had to get 60% to pass it. We only need to get 40% plus one vote to say no for it not to pass.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's weighted to our favor.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, excellent.
Yes.
Well, okay, so now that we're coming close to the end of our interview, I'm going to give you the opportunity to give your elevator speech to the audience.
Oh, okay. One of the main cruxes of this amendment is there is not a single solar company or solar industry in the state that is backing this amendment. Like I had said to Al before, it is a wolf in sheep's clothing. It sounds great on paper, but it's not worded very well. It almost didn't pass. The wording almost didn't pass the Supreme Court review.
Single subject?
Yes.
Okay.
So it was passed 4-3. So it was a very narrow margin, and there was a big article from one of the judges that had a dissenting and why it should not have been passed. But yeah, there's definitely dishonest intent for this amendment. So we're trying to get the word out to vote no. No on Amendment 1.
And let's go back to your son. What does he think about this?
You know, he's a first-time voter this year, and he's very excited to be able to vote.
No, he's not voting.
He is. He is. Just turned 18, so he's very excited.
And I can bet what vote he's going to place.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I see your buttons. Where can people get literature and things like that? Where's your website? How do
The
we
website
find
is
you?
votenoon1.org or FloridiansForSolarChoice.org. There's
That
all
would
kinds
be
of fact sheets out there. Yep.
vote.no.on1.org. Okay.
Yep. And there's all kinds of fact sheets at FloridiansForSolarChoice.org. All kinds of information that, you know, kind of what I've just said. And I believe that we can go out there and you can do all you want. It's great.
Well, I want to thank you very much for taking the time and coming here today. This is an incredibly important amendment. I mean, everybody wants solar energy and renewable energy to take over for fossil fuels.
Yes.
But the big guys want to structure it in a way that allows them to get their reoccurring revenues.
Yes, they're protecting their profits. And the $21 million that they've spent promoting this is a drop in the bucket to them. So they'll spend that money because they know that they have much more profit at stake.
Thank you very much. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Well, we will be back. When we come back, we will actually be, Katie McDougall will be conducting an interview on the same topic with another voice of interest for stopping this passage. And thank you very much, and we'll see you after the break.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to BocaWatch TV at WRPBI TV. Our guest this afternoon is Tony Raimondo from Urban Solar, and we will be continuing our discussion about Amendment 1. But just first, a little bit about Urban Solar. It is a full-service power company. All paperwork, permitting, and inspections, and interconnection agreements are taken care of by Urban Solar. They're state licensed solar contractor since 2001. Michael Vergona is the president, and Tony Raimondo is the vice president, correct?
Correct.
Tony is the founding partner. His background is in construction and engineering through his family business. Tony's father is a general contractor, and his mother is a civil engineer. The family are long-term Boca residents, and so what Tony has to say is very important to everyone in Boca Raton. Of course, our focus today is going to be Amendment 1 coming up on the November election regarding solar. And what I'm going to do right now is just read Amendment 1 so the viewers can have a little idea of what exactly they're going to be asked to vote on. This was the sample ballot that everybody received. Just flip it over, and it says, Amendment 1, the rights of electricity consumers regarding solar energy choice. This amendment establishes a right under Florida's Constitution for consumers to own or lease solar equipment installed on their property to generate electricity for their own use. State and local governments shall retain their abilities to protect consumer rights and public health, safety, and welfare, and to ensure that consumers do not choose to install solar are not required to subsidize the cost of backup power and electric grid access to those who do. The amendment is not expected to result in an increase or decrease in any revenue or cost to state or local government. So, what's wrong with this?
So they're very good in wording it as being a pro-solar amendment. What it's actually doing is paving the way for them to to discontinue net metering, which is a critical part of solar in any state or infrastructure.
And net metering is
your ability, when you overproduce energy in your home, to sell it back to the utility grid.
I see. Mm-hmm. So your company has obviously been in business since 2001. Mm-hmm. So you've installed many solar panels.
That's correct.
And what would you say is, were people concerned during Hurricane Matthew, for example, like what's going to happen to their solar panels? What answer would you give people in that instance?
Sure. So we calmed a lot of people down during the storm when it was approaching. We engineer everything to 180 miles an hour. That's the wind load requirement we need in order to pass permitting. So we calmed their nerves, and luckily we dodged the storm, so everything was fine there. The biggest issue that people have is when the power goes out, the solar doesn't work anymore. Mm-hmm. It's required by law in order to do that. We don't want to send power onto the grid while potentially someone's working on it.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm. So, getting back to Amendment 1, what we're advising at BocaWatch is that everybody vote no. So even though the language is misleading, what it really does is it charges people more for having solar. Is that my understanding of it?
Correct. So it's paving the way for them to eventually be able to charge a fee for people to connect to the grid, and they're claiming that it's going to increase their costs for infrastructure, which is actually a complete lie. When you can send energy from your home to your neighbor's home, that's a lot easier than FPL sending their energy from Turkey Point to Boca Raton.
Wow.
So it's an invalid argument.
I see. So say as a homeowner, I want to start with installing solar panels. How could I say this is going to save me money? What's the process? Do you assess my electric bill? As far as how many panels you're going to put on the house?
Sure. So it's always a two-part equation. We're going to look at your available roof space, and then we're going to diagnose your electric bill. And we're going to try and find the sweet spot of what we can fit on your roof and how much we can really take off of your bill. The majority of the homeowners that we're working on currently, we're achieving close to 80 or 90% of their utility bill.
Wow. That's substantial. Mm-hmm. So our next question would be, since this is so beneficial and will in the long term save energy and save money, is the state doing anything as far as mandating that people will potentially have to install solar panels, do you see?
I don't see any mandatory initiatives coming from the state. What we would hope for in the state of Florida is a renewable portfolio standard, which is actually in a lot of other states across the country. And what that does is it tells the state and everyone in it that they have to have a certain amount of renewables by X date.
Oh, okay.
And Florida is one of the very few states left in the country that does not have a renewable portfolio standard.
What a shame. With all this sunshine.
Right, correct.
Oh, gosh. But you know, an interesting thing I was reading is that your company, Urban Solar, has just, or maybe currently is, installing solar panels for a Lennar project.
That's correct.
On the other coast.
Mm-hmm.
And Lennar right now is we're in negotiation with the city as far as our golf course goes, and hopefully they'll get the contract, and we'll be doing a swap, and Lennar will be building homes in Boca Raton on what's now the Municipal Glade golf course.
Mm-hmm.
So, will Urban Solar have anything to do with that?
We are sure hoping so. Currently, Lennar has they have a subdivision called Sun Street, and basically they're making every single home that they develop solar ready.
Wow.
It's not even an option, so it's automatically coming with your house.
I think that's huge. I mean, that's really something that people need to know about. Another reason why the Lennar project should get the go-ahead from City Hall. So, okay, now we all know November 8th is coming up. And what we're asking you to do, once again, is to take a look at Amendment 1 and just vote no. It's to your best interest. It's to everyone's best interest. Keep costs down. Keep solar energy from being regimented, and give us a little more freedom of choice as far as that goes. In closing, is there anything that you'd like to say as far as your company or your experience in the solar industry?
No, just being a native in Boca Raton and having our business located also in Boca Raton, I encourage all of the citizens of Boca to help us win this David versus Goliath battle and allow free trade and allow free choice to happen within our state.
Yes. A longtime Boca resident.
Absolutely.
So were you educated in Boca Raton as well?
And I'm an FAU alum as well.
Well, there you have it. Yeah. So now, Tony, why don't you tell us a little bit about Urban Solar and how people can get in touch with you if they are interested in purchasing solar panels?
Sure. So Urban Solar Group is a turnkey EPC, and that means we do the engineering, procurement, and construction. So really soup to nuts, the entire A to Z process for solar. If you're interested in getting in contact with us, you can find us at urbansolar.com. We're on all social media sites as well, too, at Facebook, Instagram,
yes, I saw you
Twitter
there
as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so getting back to the net metering, would you mind explaining that just a little bit more to me?
So net metering is critical to most homeowners and businesses. It's your ability to sell the excess energy that you're producing. For a homeowner, when you're not home during the day, that energy is automatically going out into the grid and creating a credit for you to then use at night when you come home. Without net metering, you would require batteries, and obviously those are still a long way away as far as expense goes. So we want to try and protect net metering, and that's why we need to vote no on Amendment 1 this November.
Very good. You know, I might have one question. This is kind of off the grid a bit, but you know, Elon Musk is producing all these solar batteries. Do you think at any point that this will be something that people can have in their home to put their own electricity into those batteries, or no?
Sure, absolutely. He's a pioneer in the industry, and we look up to him a lot. Similar to how solar was too expensive for the common homeowner to afford in past years, battery is going to follow similar in suit in that the prices are going to continue to drop, and Elon Musk is really paving the way with that with the Tesla Powerwall.
Great. Well, I just want to say thank you to Tony Raimundo from Urban Solar. Now, Tony, would you give us your contact info and just let us know how we can all get in touch with you?
Sure. The easiest way is to visit our website, urbansolar.com, and you can find all of our contact info there as well.
Very good. Well, thank you for watching. This has been BocaWatch TV with WRPBI TV, and hope to see you again real soon.